I want to quickly squeeze in here why no fans equals no problem for the NBA, NHL, and MLB once they start their season. And this was kind of thrown out there by Joel Sherman, who works for the New York Post, MLB Network. He is an MLB insider, and he was reporting that MLB is the first league to return, or likely to return, without the fans. And in the article he wrote, he quoted one team executive who said, quote, "By a matter of weeks, we will be able to play games without crowds before we can play games with them." That's one team executive, and another official within the game of baseball said, quote, "I think the only way we play, at least initially, is without fans." End quote. And I totally agree. I think both of these gentlemen, obviously, first of all, are in the know, being in the game of baseball. But second of all, at this point, already a few weeks in without any sports, I personally am going crazy. And I know if you're a big baseball fan, it's going crazy that you can't see your team night in and night out, especially now when you're at home. There's not many distractions. Sports, especially baseball, especially being a consistent night in, night out sport, will be a perfect remedy, at least a perfect distraction for everything that's going on. So I'm desperate to see baseball in any form come back. So I have no problem if they have to play the first month of the year in training camps, in spring training stadiums, in Major League ballparks without any fans in it. At this point, I just want baseball back. I want sports back. I just want baseball back. And so to me, if the best way to get baseball back as soon as possible is by starting the year without any fans, starting the year playing neutral site games for teams, let's say the Yankees and the Mets, who right now obviously are in the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak right here in New York City. So if that means playing games in Florida or playing games, let's say in Detroit, let's just picking a random city, let's say Detroit for the Yankees and the Rays. Yeah, I'm all for it. Because whatever it takes to get baseball back as soon as possible, whatever it takes to get the NBA and NHL back as soon as possible, I'm all in for it. It's not just a baseball thing. This is the NBA and NHL as well, because all three of those sports right now are in the same boat about either starting their season for MLB or resuming the end of their season for both the NHL and the NBA. And you got to think, too, before the season was canceled, one day before the season was canceled for the NBA, they were ready to play the Nets and the Warriors in front of an empty Chase Center in San Francisco. So the NBA was already on board with playing games without any fans because they thought that was the best way to continue business, continue putting product on the floor, and giving at least games for fans to watch. But obviously, they thought it was safest to where if they take out 20,000 fans, sure, that obviously lowers the risk of anyone getting corona, and that way at least that games could still go on in theory without players getting sick and everyone staying healthy. Obviously, we know that's not the case. But that was the plan, again, one day before Rudy Gobert tested positive and the season was canceled, or at least put on hold, I should say. So it'll be weird. Absolutely. It will get some taking used to. Oh, my goodness. Really crushing it today with the enunciation and the math and speaking. Good thing I don't get paid to speak for it. Thank God I don't get paid for this show. Because let me tell you, I'd be giving a lot of money back right now with the way the show is going. But it will take some getting used to watching games in empty stadiums or even maybe neutral sites. Watching a Mets-Nationals game at Tropicana Field will be weird. But if that what means getting baseball back on June 1st or mid-May, that is still MLB is pushing and thinking that they can do it, so be it. And think about where we are, right? So right now, social distancing, we just talked about the guidelines, are set through April 30th. So right now, until May 1st, no one is allowed to gather in groups bigger than 10. Right? So at least that has to mean, well, at least you got to think, well, baseball teams can't even practice and get together until that is at least lifted to, let's say, 50 or 100 people. And you got to realize we aren't just going back to normal one day. Like May 1st, we're not just going to basically magically wake up and everything's going to go back as normal as possible. People are going to go back to work. Seasons are going to resume. You can go to stadiums, you can go to arenas and watch your team. And basically, we're going to live life on May 1st like we did on January 1st. That's not the case. It's going to take a slow build to get back to any sort of normal. So maybe it's going to go from 10. Maybe the next parameter will be 50, then 100, then maybe 1,000. So think about it. So if we're going to have a slow build up to that point to where we slowly allow people to get together again, even just go back to work, when are we going to be allowed to have 40,000 people in a stadium watching a baseball game or 20,000 in an arena watching the NBA or the NHL? It's going to take some time. So let's just not, MLB's hope by resuming in mid-May, or even, my plan, at least if you listened last week, was to start the season on June 1st. That's going to mean playing games in front of empty stadiums and playing games in neutral sites until it's safe for everyone to have fans back in their stadium. And I would have a hard time believing, especially in the NBA and NHL's case, where if they either do this for the playoffs, if they resume, I should say, and go right to the playoffs, or have a truncated rest of the regular season, I have a tough time believing that they will allow some teams to have fans and others not, especially for playoff games. Right? If you have the Nets who are going to make the playoffs playing, let's just say, the Bucks, right? Obviously, Milwaukee's not much of an outbreak. Obviously, Brooklyn is close to the city. It's an outbreak. You would assume that maybe the Bucks would be allowed to have fans for the playoffs and the Nets wouldn't. I have a hard time seeing that the NBA would allow for 4 games the Bucks having fans in their home arena, having a legitimate home court advantage, and then going to Brooklyn and playing in front of an empty arena. So to me, at least, I would assume, and I would think that it's only fair for these leagues, once they either start or resume, that they are going to hold back allowing fans into the stadiums until all teams in every city are allowed to host fans again. And we have no clue, we were talking with the NFL, we have no clue when things are going to get anywhere near normal. So at least you have to do everything possible you can to have the season resume on time or as close to on time. And if that means playing games without any fans, without, or I should say, in neutral sites, so be it. Whatever, to me, I'm this desperate already to where I will take sports back in any sort of fashion. Fans, no fans, home games, neutral site games. If it means baseball is back, if it means watching a Mets-Nationals game from Port St. Lucie, that counts. I'm in. NBA, NHL, same thing. The Knicks have to play the Jazz in Oklahoma City. I'll watch. I'm in. Sure, it's 6 can't go to the games. Right, I was supposed to go to opening day, a Christmas present for my dad. I was so excited to go. Love opening day. One of the best days in all the sports calendars, just because baseball has that, more than any other sport, I think opening day is special in baseball. So I was very excited. Last Thursday, as you know, if you listen, it was a gorgeous, gorgeous day here in New York. And it hurt. That was, one of the first days. It was really depressing that sports weren't around and we weren't going to be able to go to games. And sure, it might sting a little bit. It might, you feel some FOMO or feel some sadness that you're watching games and you should be there, but you can't. But to me, it's better than nothing. It's better than the alternative we have now, which is nothing going on. So obviously you have to be safe. You have to make sure that these players can't get sick. But if it means starting the season 2 or 3 weeks earlier, but without fans and playing neutral sites compared to waiting 2 or 3 extra weeks, and then resuming seasons, I'm all in for starting the season earlier and starting the season without any fans. Especially, too, for MLB's case. I mean, they already are behind the 8 ball. They need to get games in quick. The solution I had, at least the way I would have scheduled the MLB season, if you listened last week, was I would have started June 1st, extend the season 2 weeks into October. That allows you to play 126 games, basically 77%, give or take, of the season. But if they're going to wait until fans are allowed back in the stadiums, then we're talking the best case, maybe mid-June, best case, maybe even July 1st. We don't know. So at least if MLB is waiting for that, they're just going to keep pushing the season back and back and back. Less games are going to be played, and you may even have a full cancellation of the season. So I'm all in for whatever it takes to get the season back. And right now, at least, no fans for me. That's no problem at all. I think MLB, NHL, and NBA should absolutely go for it. That will mean sports return to normal, at least quicker than they would if fans were in.